Bills' run offense is non-existent outside of Josh Allen. You don't have to be perfect to get here. We've said it. Do you have great people who can overcome obstacles and weaknesses? You don't have to be a perfect team. Green Bay looks pretty perfect. At this point, Green Bay does everything well. To me, they should be favored to win the Super Bowl. They look like the best team. And, so much for the Rams defense. Green Bay had 28 first downs, 500 yards, 36 minutes time of possession, and one quarterback hit all day. It was the only game all weekend I felt strongly about and put money on was Green Bay. Plus, the Rams came in a little beat up. Aaron Donald, Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp. My number one thought the whole game was, not that Aaron Rodgers is great, because he is, but my number one thought was, God, this makes Mike McCarthy, head coach of the Cowboys, look awful. Aaron Rodgers didn't suddenly get this talented. He's 28-7, 9 blowouts this year. I mean, there's a reason all these young coaches like Matt LaFleur are getting jobs. 71% of plays for Green Bay, somebody was in motion. It was just constantly fluctuating, different looks, different sets, different motions to confuse the defense and make them ad-lib on the fly against the hottest quarterback in football. Mike McCarthy, former Green Bay coach with Aaron Rodgers, those offenses are static. Nobody's moving. There's a Matt LaFleur. Most people don't evolve. It's the reality is most people get to 50, 55. They have their retirement set up, 60. They kind of get content. Andy Reid is a spectacular exception. He coaches like a 24-year-old. He's taking wild, big swings, and that's why everybody loves Andy Reid. But most people get content, and they don't evolve. And they get to be 55 or 60. And there's a young person in their industry right behind them who is smarter, techier, and will take bigger risks. So there's a Matt LaFleur, coach of the Packers. There's a Matt LaFleur in every industry. And if you get lazy, sloppy, and don't evolve, he's going to take your job. Green Bay had all these offensive weapons 2 years ago. They had Devontae Adams 2 years ago. They had Aaron Jones. They had this offensive line. Green Bay had all these weapons 2 years ago. They didn't look like that. Now, the defense in the last couple of years, fairness to Mike McCarthy, they have upgraded through the draft and free agency on the defensive side. I'm not blaming McCarthy for that. But this is going to be the third straight year. If Green Bay beats Tampa, my guess this morning, without diving deep, they will. Third straight year, a young NFC coach goes to the Super Bowl. And too often we glamorize yesterday and romanticize yesterday and talk about yesterday. Matt LaFleur is tomorrow. He's tomorrow. Everybody talk, defense wins championships. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The 4 best quarterbacks all year are the 4 left. Defense doesn't win championships. Kansas City can't stop the run. I mean, that used to be you can't advance. You're not a playoff team. Can't stop the run. They couldn't stop the run this weekend for long stretches. And by the way, the offensive ranks for total points scored in the NFL as of this morning: Green Bay 1, Buffalo 2, Tampa 3, and Kansas City 6. Defense wins championships is yesterday. Buffalo is here, and they can't run the football. Kansas City is here, and they can't stop the run. And Tampa's here, and their special teams are bad. So I kept looking at it. I'm like, this is why all these young guys are getting jobs. Joe Judge and Zach Taylor and Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur and this Brandon Staley. The Chargers just got – the reason teams are going young is because too many old football coaches are glamorizing, romanticizing, and talking about yesterday. Matt LaFleur's tomorrow, because they had all these weapons 2 years ago, and this offense didn't look anything like this. I mean, he's literally Aaron's smiling and grinning. He's talking. It looks like football during Thanksgiving with your less talented family members. Here's Aaron afterwards.
You just kind of hear that MVP chant. It's just something. It was just something special in those moments. And tonight, I was just feeling what that felt like. Just how sweet and special that chant is. I've heard it, a few times over the years, but every time it kind of gets you. It's really, really special.
I'll tell you this. Sports can clearly be activated and played without fans. God, that I miss fans. I know there was only like 9,000 or 12,000 in Kansas City, in Buffalo, in your Green Bay. Wow. Did I miss fans? It looked like it discombobulated Baltimore deep that time they got deep into their territory. It's like 8,000 people banging on the chairs in Buffalo. It looked like it just unraveled the Ravens. They hadn't heard anything all year, but never forget how valuable fans are. Boy, this week in the NFL proved that. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, Drew Brees has likely played his last game in the NFL after losing to the Bucs 30-20 last night, but he said he's still going to take some time before making his final decision.
I'm going to give myself an opportunity to think about the season, think about a lot of things, just like I did last year, and make a decision. No complaints, no regrets. I've always tried to play this game with a great respect and a great reverence for it. And I appreciate all that this game has given to me.
Jay Glazer reported before the game yesterday that it would be Brees' last game at the Superdome and that he would retire after the season. After the game, Brees and Brady met on the field. It was about 2 hours after the game had finished.
Yeah.
And Brady threw a touchdown pass to one of Brees' sons.
That was great.
It was a really nice moment. Having experienced what a final moment looks like for an NFL veteran, this did have that little feel to it. They're showing the video now.
Yeah.
You spend a little extra time walking out. You kind of soak a little bit more in.
Yeah.
Again, we kind of knew that this was going to be Brees' last season. The Saints certainly went all in as if this was Brees' last season, which I think was the right thing to do. And look, I mean, he looked his age. I don't think it's really necessarily fair to compare anyone to Tom Brady at this point. Tom Brady has the elixir, and that's just all there is to it.
Yeah, no, and by the way, they went all in on this. They have they may have the first or second or third best coach. They have maybe the best general manager in Mickey Loomis. It's a great roster. They're in cap hell.
Right.
They went all in for this year, so they're going to have to trade people. They're going to have to start over.
Right, which I don't think is the wrong thing to do.
That's
This is your final year with Drew Brees.
That's right.
Give it all you got.
Yep.
Why cut any corners?
Yep.
You can figure it out. You're going to have to rebuild the organization after he leaves anyway. So why not? And then, look, they've had, obviously, 3 straight very disappointing postseasons. One, obviously, we remember, was just a miracle. But, this is what happens when you have limitations at the quarterback position. They needed some dynamic plays, and they weren't able to get that done. Obviously, the turnovers, Bucs defense was incredible, but Drew Brees left it all out in the field. He owes the game nothing. He's had an unbelievable career. Yeah. I personally think it's him, Manning, and Brady in that era to have the conversations about. He has unbelievable amount of records, and he's done it with class. I mean, what he's done for that city is remarkable.
And he's a classic quarterback. This is the story of quarterback. He was overlooked by the Texas schools, so he had to go to Purdue. And then they get to San Diego, has an injury, they let him go. And Miami's like not interested. So he goes to losing New Orleans, takes this guy, Sean Payton, we heard's real smart. Katrina. I mean, if you go look at what he's dealt with, it's the classic path where doubters, critics, you won't make, from high school on, nah, can't do it. And in the end, you look up, and all these guys, with very few exceptions, Peyton Manning's an exception, they had all these roadback blocks, all these critics, and all these doubters, and you look up, and that still engineers a lot of their passion and willfulness.
And he's always had that chip on his shoulder, but it's not carried the same way that, say, Tom Brady does. Like, Tom Brady makes it very obvious.
Yes.
He is still bothered by the fact that he was picked that place in the draft. So Josh Allen and the Bills got the best of the Ravens in a 17-3 win on Saturday. Buffalo's defense did a great job stopping Lamar, holding him to under 200 total yards and no touchdowns. They also picked him off for a huge 101-yard pick six in the third quarter to help secure the win. The Bills will now face the Chiefs in their first AFC Championship game in 27 years.
Even when it was 3-3, I so enjoyed this game. I just thought it was just your classic sort of ugly sort of, I don't know. The other game, like I sat and watched these games this weekend. There was a lot of mistakes, pick sixes. I found Baltimore, Buffalo felt so AFC and so classic, and it's getting dark in the shadows and it's cold. And you know what? It took Buffalo a while to find their next Jim Kelly. But they did. It took them a long time to find their next Marv Levy, It took them a long time to find their next quarterback. Thank God they found them both at about the exact same time. And you could see 15 years, barring an injury, of the Bills in these huge games.
I'm excited for this AFC Championship game with the Chiefs and Bills. I feel like it's going to be an all-timer. Obviously, disappointing to see Lamar leave the game like that with concussion at the end of the third quarter. That pick six pretty much sealed the game, but you would have liked to see him finish it either way. And again, I know everyone's kind of coming for Lamar again, but they had
So Green Bay, it's funny. We have 4 teams left. Green Bay looks fairly flawless. Tampa's special teams aren't good. The Chiefs' run defense is really average. The Buffalo Bills' run offense is non-existent outside of Josh Allen. You don't have to be perfect to get here. We've said it. Do you have great people who can overcome obstacles and weaknesses? You don't have to be a perfect team. Green Bay looks pretty perfect. At this point, Green Bay does everything well. To me, they should be favored to win the Super Bowl. They look like the best team. And, so much for the Rams defense. Green Bay had 28 first downs, 500 yards, 36 minutes time of possession, and 1 quarterback hit all day. It was the only game all weekend I felt strongly about and put money on was Green Bay. Plus, the Rams came in a little beat up. Aaron Donald, Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp. My number one thought the whole game was, not that Aaron Rodgers is great, because he is. But my number one thought was,